more than anything, I would say if there's a fire within you, follow the fire. Let that direct you. Well, hello, Rachel.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Where are you located right now?
I am in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, the beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee, the home of the volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a volunteer?
Just for my post-bac, I am.
Okay. Cool. Now, where did you do undergrad?
MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University.
Yes. That is in Murfreesboro.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was right. So, well, good. Well, welcome to Am I Ready? We're happy to have you here tonight, and we're gonna sort of dive into some of your details and stuff, and I'll have some questions for you, and then I'm sure you'll have some questions for me, and we'll talk a little bit, and then we'll come to some conclusions. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Excellent. So we're going to look at your mapped profile and kind of see what things look like here. And the very first thing that we're going to look at is the GPA graph. And this GPA graph gives us a lot of good information about kind of how things have gone for you over the period of time. And what we see is a AMCAT. We've got this on the AMCAT GPA, and you have a cumulative AMCAT GPA of 3.62 and a science GPA of 3.55. Now, what was your major in college?
My major was psychology.
Psychology, and you did all the prereqs while you were there?
No. So I graduated and I worked for a little bit, and then I decided that I wanted to go to medical school. So I'm doing all of these STEM prereqs now.
Okay.
As post-bac. In
your post-bac program. Okay, cool. And that's at University of Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what we see in the GPA graph, the yellow line is the science GPA. And that is, so that's not a whole lot of hours, is my expectation. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not. So the 2013 to 2014, those were just 2 math classes that I had taken during dual enrollment. And then I had like a couple of neuroscience classes, and then everything up through here is just STEM classes.
Yeah, and that's because that's your post-bac stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good. And looks like so if you could click on right beside where it says AMCAT GPA, there's a more detail. Yeah, let's click there, and this gives us a little bit more view, particularly of the over on the right hand side. It really shows us a lot of the details, and what we see is that you're doing well in your post-bac program. All sciences 3.62, right around the 3.6 area. Are you feeling good about the post-bac program that you're in and your performance?
Yeah, organic chemistry is hard, so that's what I'm in right now. But besides that,
yeah, good. Now, when did you start the post-bac classes?
So I started that last fall. So I did last fall and spring, the summer, and then I have this fall, which I'm taking just 2 classes now because I've gotten most of them out of the way. So that's organic chemistry with the lab, and then physiology. And then next semester I'll have organic chemistry too with the lab, and biochemistry, and then I'll be done.
Yeah, good. So that's exciting. Yeah.
And
so yeah, right. So if we could scroll down on that page, and kind of that gives us another view, the class standing view, which is another important sort of viewpoint. And then scroll down a little bit more, and that gives us the science GPA. And this is where we really are seeing a huge difference between, now obviously, as you said, the high school freshman, junior is not a whole lot of classes there in terms of credit hours, but clearly the post-bac is concentrated on sciences, and and you're doing well in those. So that's good. 3.5 GPA and post-bac classes. So that's wonderful. So I would say in terms of your performance in school, you're doing what you need to do, which is show that you really have got the capacity for doing well in the sciences, and in the good stuff that you're showing is very positive. So I'm impressed with that. So that's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, right. Now, if you could go over to the left to the MCAT tab, don't have anything there. Let's talk a little bit about the MCAT, kind of what your plan is there, and so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've taken my diagnostic. This was last spring. I got very ambitious and I took it, and it was not good. I will just be upfront about that. It was really not good. And so at that point, I was in general chemistry 2, and so no organic. I was in the middle of physics 1, and no biochemistry. So I did very poorly just because I hadn't finished those prereqs. And so I'm planning on taking it in May, towards the end of May.
Okay.
And I've been starting to study that now.
Okay, now you said that you didn't do well. Was that a real test or that was practice test?
It was a practice test. Yeah, it was just a diagnostic test. So I took the free Kaplan test.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So your plan is to finish up with OChem and biochem next spring, and then take it right after you finish with those. That's correct. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
Now, what are you thinking in terms of your study routine, the preparation process that you're going to go through to get ready for the test? Are you going to take a prep class? Are you going to do it on your own? What are your thoughts on that?
So I have gotten UWorld, and I find that very helpful. The more that I do it consecutively, the better my scores get. So definitely doing those practice problems help. And then supplementing with, I have the Kaplan books, and also just some video resources, I think would be sufficient for content review. And then I have some other things, other practice questions that I have found. So that's just kind of how I'm planning on doing it. I feel like I do better when I just do more practice questions on the upfront.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. So excellent. So let's go back to Mapped again, and let's go over to the activities tab. Good. And why don't you walk us through this, through your activities that you've gone through over the course of the last several years?
Yeah. So I'll kind of scroll down, start from the beginning. So my first ever volunteer work I began my senior year of my undergraduate degree, when I was actually getting my degree. And so I was a sexual assault victim advocate. So I was going into the ED with a sexual assault nurse examiner, and we were there with the survivor, just doing advocacy work, doing their rape kit, working with law enforcement, doing all of that stuff. So I did that for close to a year. I stopped doing it when I moved up to Knoxville. And then let me see if I can find the next thing. It may be on the other page. And then I interned at a place in Nashville that was working with human and sex trafficking survivors. So I did that for a summer because they had it split up into kind of the semester system. So I did that after I graduated. And then when I moved up to Knoxville, I began working as an outreach specialist. And really what my job was a therapy coordinator for kids that were in state custody. So I was working with the state, with our therapists, with their case managers, with our NPs for medication management. So I did that for a year. And during that time, I decided to go to medical school. So since deciding that, I've been an ER technician and I'm currently a nursing technician. So I've done that for a while.
Okay, good. And if you could go back to that other page where it shows the ER tech stuff and the nursing tech.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For that, I was an ER tech for about 6 months, but I just didn't, the ER was not the place for me. I feel like it's a place for some people, and I was not those people. So I switched to being a nursing assistant. So it's basically like a CNA. I'm just not licensed. So I've been doing that for close to 6 months now.
Okay. So a good number of hours. The ER tech was 400 hours. The nursing assistant is 500 hours. Now the nursing assistant is hospital based and is on a floor.
Yes, that is correct. I'm on med-surg.
Okay, good. So you're getting a lot of contact with patients as well as with the nursing staff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Now I do see a couple of shadowing experiences as well. A neurosurgeon shadowing experience, 42 hours, and then a NICU shadowing experience. I guess that was like a 1-day thing.
Yeah. They only allow 1 day annually at that hospital.
Yeah. Okay. So, a decent amount of clinical contact, which is important. And I think you've got that covered. Obviously, some extensive amount of what we would probably categorize as non-clinical, but important outreach. And, with the sexual assault thing that you were doing, as well as the internship in Nashville, and then the stuff that you're doing, that you have done as the outreach coordinator or whatever that was there in Knoxville. So that's all, and that all seems to fit well with what this seems to be what would I say, a theme here for you, which is your compassion and your outreach towards sexual assault victims, and with the outreach stuff that you were doing, also with kids that are in the sort of in the system. Would that be right? Do you have a good degree of passion for those kinds of activities?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah, good. And I always say to students, let your passions sort of direct you in that regard. Really help you understand what is it that makes you tick. What is it that really ignites a fire within you that you really want to go for. And so, would you see that as potentially a pathway in medical school and after medical school is how you might want to pursue your medical practice?
Absolutely. So the big areas that I've thought about going into is OB-GYN, maternal and fetal medicine, just because that continues working with the high-risk women. But I do also really love working with the kids. So I have thought about doing something like neonatology, because, you do get to work with those premature babies where their mother has been through trauma. So it's definitely the area that I still want to be in and still be involved with those populations.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So if we now, have you done some work in terms of medical schools that you're sort of interested in looking at or applying to? You got some chosen over on the left in the med school tab, or no?
I do. So there's probably about 5 or 6 schools out of this list that I would really, really like to go to. And that's because of location and the resources that they have, and more specifically, the research that they do. So the research that I'm in right now is we are working with women who have opioid use disorder and pregnancy. And so a lot of the schools that I do really want to go to, they do either research related to that or neonatal research or fetal research. So those are really big components for me.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned location as another factor. What are the locations you're sort of thinking about?
I've always wanted to live up north or somewhere where there's mountains. So I have a really good friend that moved to Colorado a few years ago when she first went off to school. So I've gone to visit her. I love Colorado. I know Dr. Gray says that they don't accept many out-of-state people, so that may not happen. But just a lot of places up north. I'm in the South and I don't like the heat. I hate it.
I understand. I'm in Austin, Texas, and so I totally get it.
Yeah.
Good. Now, are there a few other schools? It looks like you have 11 that you've identified. Is there a page 2 on there, or is that it?
Yeah, there is. And I believe this is one that they have a couple of different locations, but they have one in Knoxville, and I do really love Knoxville. So that's definitely one that I'd be very willing to go to.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool. So that's the only DO school that you have listed. Is that a preference for you, or is that just kind of because of location? Or tell me a little bit about that.
So it's partially because of location, but also so the research lab that I'm in, it's at UT, and it's a clinical psychology lab, but one of the other PIs actually works at the same hospital that I work at, and he's part of the research. He's done a lot of research with women who have opioid disorders and pregnancy. So there's potential for me to stay and do this same type of research here, even if I'm going to a school that they don't necessarily offer it, but I'm in the same area, so I may be able to continue doing that.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Great. Well, so let me just kind of wrap all this into a box and tell you a couple of things that strike me. If we could go back to your dashboard. And so my first reaction is, in terms of your activities and stuff, you've obviously got a lot of good stuff going on there. You've got a good amount of clinical contact through your work and the shadowing you've done. You obviously have a scoped out kind of a niche where you have a great deal of interest because of your passions, and that's a real positive thing. I think I like the fact that you're identifying medical schools that seem to really fit with your, that there's a commonality between their mission and the things they have going on and what you feel are important to you. So that's a very beneficial thing. And when you're applying next year, you're going to be really able to sort of emphasize that in your application and in the secondary applications, in terms of the things that you're really passionate about and how that fits with the mission of those institutions. So that I see that as a really a strong beneficial thing for you. I think you're doing what you need to do in terms of the GPA stuff. Obviously, you need to keep with that, and so this semester and in the spring, don't slack off at all. I think you're really showing a great deal of hard work and effort in the face of difficult courses. OChem is not fun and it's not easy, and you're gonna. Physiology is also another course that is a difficult course. And I think that you're doing well in those, and then biochem you'll hit next spring. So I think you're doing what you need to do in the post-bac that really shows that you can do the work, and that's a really good thing. Obviously the big question mark for you at this point is MCAT, and you're not going to know really how that's going to go. It sounds to me like you've got a pretty good plan in place with resources that are going to allow you to prepare well. I think what you need to do in terms of the spring semester is really scope out a study routine that increases throughout the semester. In other words, beginning of the semester, you'll be doing, let's say you're going to do 5 or 6 hours a week of devoted MCAT study preparation time. But as you go throughout the semester, that's going to have to increase. And so by the end of the semester, right after the semester is over, between that time and when you're actually going to take the exam is when you're going to be doing, a lot of really focused study for the MCAT. Obviously, you probably already know that a lot of practice tests are in your future. And, and my encouragement with regard to that is to really be able to, when you're doing those practice tests, get used to the timing that the cadence of the questions and the timing that you're going to have to focus in on, so that you don't run out of time or spend too much time on some questions as opposed to others. The other thing is don't always take the full-length practice tests in a setting that you control. So in other words, go to the public library, go to the library at UT, do it in a place where you can't really control so much what's happening around you, because that's going to be a much more akin to what you're going to see in the testing center when you actually go take the test. There's going to be stuff happening around you. There's going to be people doing stuff. There's going to be talking, potentially. So you want to be able to really help yourself focus on what you're doing in the face of things that are happening around you that you may not be able to control. So get to a point next spring where you're able to take some tests in that kind of setting. And I think the library at UT would be a perfect place. You could find a study room, or you could find a cubicle where you have a good amount of privacy and a good amount of focus time, but yet there's still things going on. And
that's great advice. That's something that I hadn't thought about. So thank you.
The other thing that you want to do is test so when you sign up for the test, some tests are early in the morning, some tests are late in the afternoon, evening. So you want to test out both of those. If you're a morning person, trying to get a morning test time would be great, but you also need to test that out. So go to the library, do a full-length exam when you're early in the morning, or then try one late in the evening, so that you get a sense of depending on when my test time is, I'm getting prepared for both of the possibilities.
Yeah, that is very helpful. Thank you.
I think that would be helpful as well.
Yes.
Yeah, good. So all in all, what I see here, Rachel, is that I think things look promising for you. You're doing what you need to do. You've got a plan. Work that plan well. Keep doing well on the courses that you're taking. The caveat being the MCAT is going to be a big part of this. But I think in terms of the activities that you have going for you, the coursework that you're doing in your post-bac program, as well as the focus that you have on medicine in particular areas that you're passionate about, and focusing in on schools that are similarly focused in those areas. This is a really great thing. There's a lot of pre-med students who really don't have that kind of passion for a specific area, and so it really, I think, benefits you a lot that you have that, and that there are areas that you really feel strongly about. So that's great. So I definitely think you're ready to apply next year. I think it's going to be a lot of work next summer to get all the applications done and the secondaries and all that stuff. Luckily, you'll be finished with school at that point, and you'll be able to focus in what time you've spent studying and going to classes and stuff. You'll be able to refocus those on actually doing the applications and the essay writing and all that stuff. And so this is, I would say you're definitely in a good position. You're doing all the right things, and I'd say go for it.
Okay. Is there anything that you would recommend for a gap year? Because part of me is just like keep working and just do that. But part of me is I've found a couple of non-thesis master's program in reproductive medicine. So it would only be 1 year. So if I were to apply this time around and matriculate in one application cycle, then that's something that I could do. So,
yeah. Well, does that sound exciting for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I would say do what your heart says that you want to do. Follow your heart. I think in my, I'm 57 years old. I've got a lot of years under my belt, and the advice that I would have is always follow your heart. Always follow the gut that says, this is what I want to do. That fire within you. And if reproductive health and those types of things are really something that you feel strongly about, then and I would think that would be great. You're obviously working already in a similar field, and you've done a lot of stuff in that field, but more than anything, I would say if there's a fire within you, follow the fire. Let that direct you.
Okay. Thank you.
I see a big smile on your face. Are you happy I said that?
Yeah. I talked to a maternal and fetal medicine physician the other day, and that was pretty much what she also said. So,
yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad I was consistent with her. So that's good. That's awesome. Well, do you have any other questions for me tonight, Rachel?
I don't think so. Nothing that comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on Am I Ready? I hope it was beneficial for you, and it's been great meeting you. And do over the course of the next 8 months or so, do keep us up to date every now and then. Email us and let us know what's going on and how things are progressing for you, and we'll be interested to hear.
All right, will do.